Hello, this is Matt from Skybow. You're using content types in your lists and libraries to organize your data? Then I will show you a cool feature of the Skybow Form Designer where you will be able to organize and design your forms per content type. So just very in general, a content type is a collection of columns. I think most of you know that already. It's there to organize different columns in your lists and libraries. And with our product, you can make different forms, look and feel, and logic per content type. And this is only visible if you activate content types in your list. Otherwise, you will not see that area marked in red. So there will be a content type chooser where you can switch between the different content types. And it's much easier to organize, have a clear overview. I mean, there would be another option to have just columns all in the same list, and then maybe a choice column, and based on that choice column, you show and hide certain things, but that makes it quite hard to see how a form will really look like in the very end, because you would see everything. Maybe some parts will have visible expressions on it, but if you work with content types, then it's much clearer because every content type can look different. And also like this, so we have the task and the issue, which can look different in the same list. And also we can have different form load actions. So if you switch between a content type, and I will show you that later on, there will be one column, which is the content type itself. So you can change the content type during, if you create an item or you modify an item. And this time the form load actions are executed again. And also like initial value expressions, etc., they are all executed again if you switch to the other content type. We can also handle the export and import separate, whether per form. So we can export the form of in that case, the issue only, or we can export all the content type or the forms from all content types. And the same is there for import. I will show you that as well in the demo. That's the one part, so that you can design the form for each content type separate. If you have 6, 7, 8 content types, you can have 7 different forms in your list. And of course, for each form, like display, new, edit form, they can be all managed separate. The second addition, it's not connected with content types, it's just in general, is the versioning. So that's also a feature that we've added recently. It creates, each time you're saving, it creates a new version. And with this, you can see who made a change. So you will have this drop down. You can see the version number. You see who did the change and when the change was done. And you can go back to previous configuration. And by this, and that's the cool thing about it, you can also look up configuration from previous versions. So it's not automatically going back to that version. You will just see a preview. Let's say you have something done in version 15, but maybe someone else deleted it or changed it, and you need to go back to that configuration, or you want to know how it was configured back then. Then you can simply go back to version 15, have a look. You can even copy stuff from there. And if you don't save, you can go back to the latest version and just paste it in there as well. I will do that in the demo afterwards. But that's an easy way to go back in your configuration steps. And yeah, in total, you will see 500 versions. And then always the latest 500 versions. So if you save a lot, then of course 500, it's still a lot, but you will not see the ones from the very beginning if you have more than 500. So that's it already from the slide. Like always, I want to spend most time in the demo itself. So let's jump into the demo. So here I have a list where I have two content types in there. As you can see, I have a task content type and an issue, and each one looks different. I can start from here, say I want to create a new task. The task, just to show you some differences. I mean, the first thing you see is the header is a light green header with a task icon, and I have configured two columns. I have some initial values like the assigned to column, which is pre-populated with myself. And for tasks, I decided to go for a document library here. If I would create an issue, this looks a bit different. I only have one column. I have some different columns. So for example, the issue status was not there in the task. That was a task status. You see the header is a different one. And I'm not using document library. I'm using the attachment column just to have some differences. It's probably not a real scenario, but to show you it makes sense. And also the buttons, they can have different actions behind. And one important thing that we've added, or you can add to the form, is the content type column itself. Here you can still switch between the two content types. So I started to create an issue, but I could still change it. Should be a task, and the form loads again. And that's the time where I said the form load actions would be executed again. And also this one, which is an initial value expression, as you can see, it's also executed again. So I can switch between these forms, and yeah, they have different logic, they have different look and feel, etc. I can do the same in the edit for sure. So this one is now an issue, so it opens up the issue automatically. And for the task, it opens the task form. So at this time, I didn't modify the display form. So display form is still out of the box. So that's how it looks out of the box. You just see the columns from the issue and the columns from the task if you open up the task. So what I would like to do, here you see the task columns. And of course, here you can also switch and it would change. So what I would like to do, if we look at the designer, I have my work items list here. And once we've activated the content types in the advanced settings of the list, then I will see that drop down. And I can switch here as well from task to issue, and it would load another form. We can make changes here, we can change it. And what I would like to do is I have my edit form here, which looks almost the same. It's not exactly the same, but almost. The buttons are a bit different. I will show you right afterwards, but my display form is still uncustomized. So what I would like to do is I want to get the display form to look the same as the edit form because it's more or less the same. So what I would do is I will go to the edit form, and in the export here, now we have one additional option. We can export the form for the current content type only. So only this one. And we would get a file called list name, edit form, and then task, which is the content type. Or I can export all content types. And the difference is here we have now work items, edit form, all content type. All right, if I go to the display form, I can simply click on Customize. And then I will see the drop-down. And I could now simply import. Now they look almost the same. They just show the columns from the content type. So task is this one, and issue is this one with the issue columns. If I click on import and I choose a file, whoops, sorry, here, the task, then it would give me these standard options that that you probably already know from the normal import. Say yes, and this time it only customizes the task, and the issue is still standard. But I can also say import, and then I choose the all types. Do the same, yes. One thing I should probably, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have overwrite is the command bar, because that was not the same on the edit form as on the display form. I don't have a save, so that was probably, let's do it again. I just uncustomize, and then this time we do it correct. This time I customize it again, and when I import, I will say I don't want to import and overwrite the default buttons that I have on the display form, which is just edit and close. So I'm simply going and say import once again, all content types, but I don't import the command bar, just the form itself, the styles, and the setting, which is the size of the panel. All right, edit and close is still here. Issue is here, task is here. So that was now for all the content types. And that's more or less already my display form. If I go and hit save, can go back here, refresh the screen. And now I already have my display form. If I double click, issue looks like this, task looks like that. So that's the import export for a single form of a content type or for all content types. All right. And what we can see as well, if we go and look into the new form, once again, we can see that these buttons, so for example, the task buttons, here the save button is different. It just has a save form and the close. And if we go back to the issue, or the other content type, looks similar, but we have our own command bar actions and of course form load actions here as well. So if I go to the save button here, it looks different. We have another action embedded here, which opens the form after saving. That's what I extended, just to have a difference. All right. So that means we can really define each form or each content type. We can customize it with a different look and feel, different styles, different actions, and so on. That's the content type feature. And now if we jump over to the second feature, which is about versioning, that's the one over here. So for every form, we have versions, and we see when these were created, by whom, and if I select an old configuration, and doesn't matter which one, let's take the 16 from this morning. it would ask me if I want to load that version, but we are at 18. It will not load, it will not overwrite and create a version 19. It will simply load the old configuration, and it's saying you're viewing a preview version of the form configuration. If I want to create a new version, so I can make changes now, I can make other configuration. If I hit save, it creates a version 19. If I simply, and that's what's written here, if I refresh, then it loads the latest version again, which means 18. So what I can now do, for example, on my new button, on the save button, I used to have another action that someone deleted. So I can simply go back and look into version 17 or 16. I could just go back and back until I've found what I'm looking for. So we saw we had 3 actions, a save, an open form, and a close. If I go back to version 17, looks still similar. Oh, that's not on the task. I have to switch, sorry. Here. And if we look at the command bar, the save button, we can see that there was another action and someone deleted that action. What I can now do is I can simply copy that action from here, then it's in the clipboard, and I will cancel here, cancel here. I will not save it because maybe I did other changes since then. I will simply reload to get to the latest version again. I switch to the issue again. And now I will go back to my save button here. And because it's still in the clipboard from a previous version, I can simply drag and drop it. And like this, I can easily copy actions and controls. I mean, you can do that for every control on the form. It's just one example. You can copy older configuration to this button, save it. You have now version 19 and you have this old configuration back. You can also get old configuration from columns. So if you have an old configuration in version 15, you can get it, copy it from there, go to the latest version and paste it in again. So that's a very easy way to look up previous configuration. Maybe something was overwritten or it was working correct and so it was misconfigured, and then you can get it back. Yeah, that's the main thing about versioning. Going back, it will not load, it will not overwrite by default. You can really go the initial version. So if you see here, initial version, yes, that's how it looks like if you just customize the form and you didn't do any change. So that's the initial version. And if I do not save, refresh, and then you're back on the latest version. And using content types, for sure, that will always save save every content type. So it's one configuration or one version for all the content types. That's probably important to know. So if you're here and you're saving, it also saves changes that have been done here. So there is one configuration in the background, version 19, and that holds all the forms of all the content types. I hope you're now able to master your form customization with ease.